Okay, colleagues, we will take at least 3 questions from Monica. I apologize on her behalf. She's going to be leaving. She has another engagement, and together with Jovial. So let's take this session now into question and answer from both of them, and then we will continue with the last 2 presentations after they've left. So I am at your service. I did say that you can ask on the chat or you can raise your hand. You really can't let them off the hook so easily. Any question? Monica, if I may ask a question, do you think each and every newsroom should at least have its own sexual harassment policy and go on so far as to make it maybe a quarterly or every 6 months kind of a debate and question answer in the newsroom, just to make people be aware of what it says and what are the definition of sexual harassment, what does it cover, and so on?
You know, most newsrooms, actually all newsrooms, do have a sexual harassment policy. What is problematic is that that's not regularly kind of addressed in the newsroom and updated, and there should be more workshops around that, around their male colleagues. Also, it needs to be reinforced consistently by HR that it's a safe place, because to be quite honest, I myself have been a victim of it in almost every single newsroom I've worked in, almost every single. Did I report it? No, because I did not feel safe going to HR. I did not feel that HR or my editors had my best interest at hand and that they would protect me over my more senior male colleagues. And it was in fact quite visible to a lot of them. You could hear what they were saying to some of the senior editors, and they just laughed and joked around with it. So there's also a culture of that that's been ongoing in newsroom for decades, where the editors themselves joke and laugh with the other senior male colleagues like it's a joke. So how are you expected to be taken seriously if you go to HR? It's part of the culture. So that kind of culture needs to first of all change.
Okay, Amina, you are recognized. You can ask the question.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Thank you very much, Monica, Hopewell, and Jovial. My question is more a SANEF-related question. Are we monitoring the responses or use of the service that SANEF has in partnership with the South African Anxiety and Depression Group, Depression and SADC? We've partnered with SADC where people can turn to for more psychological and emotional professional assistance, of course. So it's more a question to SANEF if we are monitoring that and how that is going, because yes, sexual harassment is very, very a big factor. But the impact of this, obviously, you know, the psychological impact on it is great. So maybe someone from SANEF can comment on it. Maybe Monica knows as well, as Monica is with New Frame and has a big newsroom, if that is the word, and also in a capacity as chair of the diversity committee. Thanks.
Thank you, Monica. You want to take a chance?
Sure. Sorry, I don't have stats on the South African depression. I think Hopewell could perhaps assist with that. At New Frame, we do offer ongoing counseling for our journalists, not just harassment, but all of our journalists who face any kind of trauma that they may face in the field. As you know, journalism is a very traumatic profession for everyone. So we've been offering that ongoing. With our female reporters, I've had ongoing conversations with them from day one, and made it very clear if they've experienced any kind of harassment, whether it's online, whether it's in the field, they need to report it immediately to me. If they don't feel comfortable with me, they need to report it to a colleague, but that they will be completely supported from our side, and we will give them whatever they need in order to feel safe. That's pretty much been my stance from day one. The only other organization that's been offering that, in my experience, that I've, as a journalist, found that recommended and offered ongoing counseling and trauma counseling was News 24. It's besides the sexual harassment that they're facing in the newsroom, there's also the harassment that you face on the field. And if you're alone as a female journalist, because it's easy to just attach yourself to your, like I said, your male colleague, it's very scary. And I feel like there needs to, besides there being this kind of counseling and support, there also needs to be, how you would protect yourself, or some sort of, what to do in a situation if you can't get out. Or if you feel threatened, what should you do? There needs to be some sort of workshop or some sort of program in all newsrooms that you can give to women, not just women, but all journalists, I think, but specifically women, how to get out of a sticky situation. What do you do? Can you call your editor immediately? Will help come? How do you get out of that situation? Because for me, I wouldn't know how to do that.
Okay, I'm going to ask Jovial to chip in here. I wanted to ask Jovial. Am I in? Oh, yes. I wanted to ask Jovial, so I thought I muted, about this effort by the UNESCO in assisting journalists to report. Is this report just meant to record what each country is doing in terms of media freedom and how much or how they're treating their journalists? Or do you think it has some diplomatic pressure on a particular country to maybe release those that are arrested or something like that?
Thanks, Jovial. I think before I answer you, I just wanted to make a comment on the good presentation that Monica made, because and make the point that really what she's saying is that the enemy is not out there only, that we as journalists, as the media, we have to look at ourselves and make sure that our female colleagues, for instance, feel as safe as we want us to be as male colleagues. It's a huge challenge, and the newsrooms, maybe all of them, have got these fantastic policies, but those policies remain entries on paper, and I think we should all echo what Monica is saying and say those policies must become alive, and they must become meaningful to all journalists, particularly our female colleagues, because freedom must start at home. Freedom must start in our newsrooms, where our colleagues feel free to be able to tell the South African story and the African story. As far as the digital platform is concerned, Hopewell, the aim here is to achieve maybe three things. As I said, the public pressure is the one. Through the platform, we want to create awareness, enough public pressure as a way of stopping this kind of crimes against journalists and the media. I think we all know that governments believe that if something happens to a journalist, a media, or even an ordinary citizen for that matter, and it's all quiet, nobody says anything, that they think they can do so with impunity. The second thing, obviously, is accountability, and through the offices of the special rapporteur, who are trying to negotiate and bring down the walls at the African Union and try and get the heads of states and governments to account. It is very clear to us, and research will back what I'm saying, that it almost all the violations that we have to deal with, these violations are perpetrated by governments, And then the third point is that the organization and of the networks through which we get alerts to be reported does two things. One, it helps organizations, national bodies like SANEF in the many countries to become organized and to become strong. And two, it also becomes a form of protection. You know, if someone in a village in Burundi experiences a violation of some kind, but people in that village and the police know that Hopewell will be told that this has happened and this is going to be publicized. That is a form of protection, you know, that we need to build and grow. The last point I'm going to the volunteer Hopewell is training that we have started training what we call coordinators, people in the villages, like on how the platform works, how they can load alerts and so on. We've done a pilot training project in Southern Africa. Our next target is to do East Africa, and then we go region by region like that. But it's for us, you know, the practice of journalism in certain countries on our continent is a matter of life and death, you know. So the safety, the digital platform, it's actually a very powerful and important weapon for us that can stand between that life and that death. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to take the last question from Samano, please, and then I will close this session and do release Monica.
Thank you so much. Good morning, colleagues. Monica, you shared an example of Lindsay Denklinger following her reports at the State of the Nation address. What could have been done in such a case to avoid a situation to blow up, just like what we have seen? And perhaps maybe just lastly, what responsibility does the employer have to assist to quell the tension? Thanks.
Thank you. The Lindsay Denglinger is actually a great example. Thank you. I actually forgot about that. I mean, there's several things there that you can see. When that video was released, first of all, you could see it was easily edited. I mean, somebody who has zero editing experience like myself could see that. So that was the first thing. The second thing was, and I mean, I wasn't at ENCA, so I don't want to be unfair, but on the surface and at the face of it, to me, it didn't appear like ENCA had come out to support her. You know, they didn't kind of address it immediately, which they should have done. They should have stepped in and said, we're going to review this video and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, or something like that, or put out a statement that was a lot more firmer than what it had done initially, only much later. You know, the threat that came out of that on social media, and I'm sure everyone was following it because she was, I think she was a hashtag for several days, was frightening. It was frightening. And it was horrific that, you know, the kind of threats that she was facing. And I don't feel that she had received enough protection from them. In fact, it was later on that she went on a show where she had to give her version and then she apologized. It was only done a week later. That for me was just a bad case of how they dealt with that problem or that situation. They should have kind of dealt with it almost immediately, spoken to Lindsay, given her support, said to her, we will investigate, and put out a statement, or gone on, not just a statement, but immediately addressed it. That for me was just a lack of action. And I think that situation could have been dealt with in a much swifter and easier way. I do feel that she was let down.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am afraid we have that much time. And also, I've kind of forced Monica to stay a little bit longer. She has a meeting to attend, with sincere apologies. So thank you kindly. And also, I'm going to let Jovial off the hook, unless he feels that he still has time to stay. But he had also indicated that he needs to dash.